Hello everybody and welcome back. Let's go ahead and let's start things off with week number 2, the final week of the Hisui Cup. And we're going to lead off. We're going to switch things up a little bit. We're going to bring out Empoleon, which, to no surprise, a very popular pick. Second only to that little old water mud boy, water and ground type Gastrodon. So besides Empoleon, our lead Pokemon, we got Gliscor and Cresselia, Cressy in the back. And those two are great coverage, and there is no dedicated safe swap. Both can be used if you need them. But for starters, instead of going in order, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to tackle everything by our opponent's Pokemon. So the first set right here is mirror matches. So there are other Empoleon leads, and we're going to tackle how to handle them. I'm also joined here by Fifi. And yeah, so let's go ahead and let's kick things off. So obviously, there's a Gastrodon. The Gastrodon, you have to be careful because even though they can know Body Slam and Earth Power, most nowadays, especially as we begin week 2, are going to know Body Slam and their Water type charge move. So you have to be careful because if you have a Shadow Gliscor, it will do some damage. A normal Gliscor, it'll do about 2/3, which is still fine because of the fact that its fast move, Gastrodon's fast move, does negligible damage because it's a ground type fast move. You're going to be okay. But if you have a Shadow Gliscor, you're in trouble. So get that out of the way. Let's start with the next one. So here we go. Now our Empoleon here, our shiny Empoleon, is nothing special. In fact, its IVs are trash. The one thing that is good about our Empoleon, though, is that it has a very high attack, and so it will go first in the CMP tie. So if you do tie, we're going to go first. If you don't have one that has a very high attack, you can always throw that extra fast move just to get it on in there when they're throwing their charge move. So here we go. We're going to shield this. Now, if you're going to notice here, they're Gallade. It always is going to know Leaf Blade and Close Combat. Obviously, they're not going to use Close Combat. They're going to use Leaf Blade, and it becomes a Gliscor v Gliscor. Now, Night Slash does have a chance to boost your attack. Unfortunately, we didn't get it there either time, but it is actually a fairly good chance, especially if you're throwing multiple Night Slashes, and it can be a godsend when you're going up against Pokemon that are weak to flying. So there we go. We got it at the very end. And what we were able to do is kill each other. So that was great. We win. Here we go. Another Empoleon lead for us. This is number 3. We're going to tackle it with a Hydro Cannon. They go ahead. They shield, which is totally fine. And then here we go. They throw one. We're going to shield as well. And really what you want to do is you kind of want to follow what they're doing. So if they're shielding, go ahead and shield as well. They're using their last shield here. And so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to let this one hit us. And then we do end up dying here, but it's fine. We have Cresselia. Sorry, my cat is getting everywhere. She's everywhere, folks. So here we go. We're going to throw this Grass Knot, take care of business. They're down to 0 shields, and it becomes Cresselia versus a Drifblim. So here we go. Go ahead, let this one do their thing. It's an icy wind, that's fine. Chances are they weren't going to throw that Shadow Ball. They were trying to get us to use our last shield. Here comes big old Gliscor. Time to throw this Night Slash. And there it is, super effective. And now it becomes our Gliscor versus, of course, their Frostlass. Now, if you do see a Drifblim in the back, chances are they're going to do an ABB with Drifblim and with Frostlass, so really be aware. Pay a lot of attention. This Cup's meta is very small. There are a lot of team comps that are seen a lot. If you see, like in this example, if you see a Gastrodon in the front, chances are there's going to be it's an ABB with both Drapion and Skuntank. It's really common. It is the most common team makeup here, and our team absolutely dominates them. So here we go. We have Empoleon coming back in, doing its thing. They cannot get a charge move off. Most of the time, that Drapion, it's not going to know Poison Sting. Most of the time, it will know its Dark type fast move, which has a very, very slow EPS as far as energy generation goes. So thankfully, that's really good for us. And now it's pretty much over. They're going to go ahead. They're going to do their thing. We're going to shield here. Going to shield that crunch, and we are going to throw this Moonblast just to take care of business. Skunk Tank is down, and then there is a Gastrodon. Throw this Grass Knot here, and that takes care of business as well. Remember, Gastrodon does know Mud Slap is a fast move. It is a hard-hitting move for anything that is steel, such as Empoleon, but anything else, it just doesn't really do a good job. So we switch to Cresselia here. We're throwing Grass Knot. They're not really sure what to do, which means they don't have a lot of coverage versus Cresselia, which is a rarer pick in this cup. They throw a Body Slam, and right now we're just kind of probing, seeing what they have, if they're going to have their Water-type charge move, if they're going to have Earth Power just in the future, because we do have Gliscor. But you know what? Moot point. They let him go. They let it go. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw a Moon Blast here, and we're going to force them to use their last shield. So now it's 2 shields versus 0. And luckily we did get the attack break, so keep that in mind. With the attack break, we're looking really good. A normal Shadow Ball versus a non-Shadow Gliscor will do some damage, but now that its attack is broken, we're looking even better. So there we go. They quit. That's it. And the story, here comes another Gastrodon lead. So versus Empoleon, some people will leave Empoleon in, get that first charge move off, and force him to shield. I don't like to do that because Empoleon is still a really important Pokemon to have should they have any sort of, I don't know, Drifblim, or especially if they have Frostlass in the back. So it is important to hang on to our Empoleon, and just as a little bit of insurance, so to speak. So don't go with that strategy. It can work out, but just for this team, it's not very good. So here we go. We have a Gastrodon, and since we have it charged and ready, we're one fast move away. We go ahead, we use that fast move, and we switch to Gliscor. They are bringing out the tank, and what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to throw the Earthquake. There is no need to bait, and they expect us to try for the bait. They quit, and that's that. So that's situational awareness. You expect them in their head, they're going to think that we're going to try for the bait, and instead we just go for the throat. So here we go. Cresselia's in. We throw this Grass Knot, then we shield, and this is a pretty rare find. I've seen a couple of them, but for the most part, Hisui and Sneasler, it's just, yeah, it's going to know Aerial Ace, which doesn't hit too hard. I mean, it's Shadow, so it's going to do some damage, but for the most part, you're going to be okay, especially versus Cresselia. So that means they don't have really anything else to combat Cresselia, but our Cresselia is down, and then we bring in Empoleon of our own. They switch to Gastrodon, and then, of course, we are bringing in Gliscor, and Gliscor is going to do its thing. Night Slash here doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but we do get the attack boost. So I believe this one, they do have Water Pulse. So as you can see, it does do a lot of damage, but remember, Gastrodon's fast move Mud Slap does nothing to Shadow or non-Shadow Gliscor, but Waterfall certainly does. So at this point, all we need to do is tank this Hydro Cannon because they have a double charge, and now it's just a matter of using our fast move and killing it. And that's that. There's a victory dance, and let's mosey on over to the next one. Now we are on to Drifblim leads. So Drifblim leads are actually pretty good, just because a lot of people with Drifblim aren't going to do an ABA type team. They're not going to have Frostlass in the back. They might, but for the most part, if you do see a Drifblim lead, do not expect to see a Frostlass in the back. So they go ahead, they throw a Shadow Ball. Most of the time, they're not going to throw Shadow Ball. They're going to throw Mystical Fire or Icy Wind. They're going to try to bait the shield, but it's fine. Here comes a Night Slash. We say goodbye to their Drifblim, and then we have another Hisui Sneasler coming on out, showing its claws. There's an Aerial Ace, and then we're going to go ahead and throw a Night Slash here. And there's a Night Slash. One more fast move takes care of business. And then here we go. What do we have coming up? They're waiting out just a little bit. And hey, it's a Gallade. Whenever you see that fighting and psychic type in this cup, you know it's Gallade. So we go ahead. They beat us. We say goodbye to our beloved little Gliscor. It served us well. In comes Cressy. And what are we going to do with Cressy? Well, we're going to go ahead. We're going to throw this Grass Knot. They do catch it, though. But in the end, it's kind of a moot point just because they can't obviously do close combat. They're going to do Leaf Blade. They could get one more Leaf Blade off, but it wouldn't have killed us. So it's on to the next one, the next Drifblim. Let's see what's shaking. So Drifblim's out, and here comes their Lucario, which is a pretty rare Pokemon to see in the Hisui Cup. Most of the time, if they do use a fighting type, it is going to be Toxicroak. So be warned, be aware. We throw a, well, they don't catch the bait. They do shield the second one, which is fine. Should have used that Earthquake, right? But we're going to go ahead. We're going to shield as well. And now we do keep the lead. Unfortunately, we are down to 0 shields. And now we throw this Earthquake to get them down to 0 shields as well. So there it is. They're going to do their thing. We cannot get that Night Slash off, but it's fine because here comes a Mud Bomb. Luckily, Mud Bomb, again, negligible damage to Gliscor. We do get a Night Slash off, and then one more fast move, which does a pretty good chunk of damage. So here we go. All we need to do now is just kill this Drifblim, and victory will be ours. Mystical Fire. A lot of Drifblim will also know Mystical Fire and Icy Wind. They will get rid of Shadow Ball. So that's another thing to be aware of. Here we go. Another Mystical Fire. And then a couple boops from our little friend Cresselia. And now just a matter of throwing this Moonblast. And that's that. We win. And it's on to the next one. So there's a victory dance. And let's check it on out. And we have another Drifblim. So here we go. Drifblim, Drifblim, Drifblim. A very common lead, as you can see. The big four now are Drifblim, and then, of course, Gastrodon, Empoleon, and I'm actually seeing a lot of Bibarel, which we'll tackle next. So there we go. Icy Wind, we're not biting. We go ahead. We do throw this Hydro Cannon. They catch our attack, and they switch to a Shadow, Abomasnow, which is actually a fairly rare find. It was pretty popular in the early days, last week especially, but it's kind of tapered over the week. And now we use our Moonblast, and they opt not to shield. 2 shields versus 1. Here comes Drifblim again, and Drifblim is going to do its Drifblim thing. Shadow Ball going for the throat, takes care of us. And then we have Empoleon coming in, and Empoleon, what are we going to do here, folks? Well, we're going to go ahead. We're going to let that one hit us, and now it becomes our Gliscor versus their Cresselia. And so, luckily for us, of course, Cresselia is weak to that Dark Pulse, or I'm sorry, to that Night Slash. We're trying to get that attack boost, and it just doesn't happen. Whenever you need it, it never happens. Whenever you don't need it, you know, it always seems like that at least. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to throw up this shield here. There's a Grass Knot, no problem. Here comes a Night Slash headed their way. And then still nothing. We're going to go ahead and then we charge it +1. And of course, they swap. But it's fine, whatever. They try to get it off. And then luckily, we beat them to it. And then they end up, I believe, just force quitting here. And that's that. Goodbye, Cressy. And hello, victory. On to our Bibarel lead. So with Bibarel, the one thing, if you're not using a Steel type, you do have to watch out for their normal type moves, such as Hyper Fang or Hyper Beam. It's obviously a really long charge, but please be aware of it. There's no need to get one-hit KO'd over this. For the most part, they're going to be throwing Surf. So there we go. And then we're going to go ahead and we took care of business, although it did cost us a shield. And then here comes Drifblim. And with Drifblim, we're going to go ahead. We're going to throw this Hydro Cannon. It is a Shadow Drifblim, so be aware of that. And then we're bringing in Cressy. And with Cressy, it's pretty much, you know, it was a tough call, tough decision. Mystical Fire, good news for us. We're going to go ahead. Luckily, they're not switching, so we're going to throw this Moonblast here. There's the Moonblast. And now we're going to leave Cresselia to its own devices, Mystical Fire. And then we bring in our beloved little Gliscor to take care of it there. And then they do have a Bronzong. And luckily for us, it spells the end for them. An Earthquake, and then all we need to do is just farm away. And that's that. On to the very last battle. Let's see what we got cooking. We have another Bibarel lead. So just like before with Bibarel, if you do have an Empoleon, go ahead, leave Empoleon in, and start going for the Drill Peck. There it is. And then they quick switch to Toxicroak. Of course, we're going to bring in none other than our Gligar. So with Gligar, go ahead, Shadow Ball. It does, like I said before, about 2/3 damage. It's enough to cause some damage, but luckily we do resist their fast move, which is great news for us. So we take care of business without having to use any of our shields, and now we have a Night Slash ready to go against that Bibarel. They do kill us though, and so we wait for just a minute, and then we bring in Empoleon. And with Empoleon, we're going to let them hit us with a Surf. We resist it, and then here comes a Frostlass. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking. You never want to see Frostlass, especially with our, with Cresselia. So we're going to throw this Moonblast here. They opt not to shield. Great news for us. Now we just have to lower their HP a little bit more in order to have Empoleon come back in and just KO this thing with its fast move. So there we go. They shield. Of course, they're going to shield. And now they're out of options. And that's it. I want to thank y'all for watching and have a great and wonderful rest of your night. Bye-bye.